types of sports with shoot and tour. Football discussion on the internet.
Holy Jeebus. Holy Jeebus. Welcome, everybody, to Both Types of Sports. It's just shoot. At some point, maybe tour. Who the fuck knows? I'm your host with the most. Appreciate you tuning in. You can follow us on X, Both Types Sports. Go ahead and amble on over there. Get locked in. Off season. Swear to God, I almost enjoy it more than the regular season. I was talking about it today on the mothership. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. League year hasn't even fucking started yet, and it's one life to live up in this bitch. Got the Matt Stafford backing out, completely cucking the Raiders and the Giants. I want to spend a portion of today's show talking about that, about franchises cucking themselves for Sean McVay's dreamy swoop-having ass, his heaving pectoral muscle. It's just wild to me. The lesser dog franchises continue to act like lesser dog franchises, and then they stick with it. Mothership, did you just come up with that? I don't know, Kevin. Last couple of messages in this. I know you're a soldier, but they feel like some trolling is going on. Hello, Gigantor. How are you?
I'm doing well, shoot. Glad to be here.
I usually do a good job
me on the mothership.
Oh yeah, I made an impact, I guess. Is that because of the comedy mothership? I can't think of another mothership that I would be ripping that off of.
There was a CBS Sports Radio mothership that came on before Scott Farrell in the evenings.
There was.
I should remember who hosted that.
Was it Chris Russell?
I don't believe so.
I got an email today. I won't say who it's from, but it's from somebody that I think you know. I definitely know in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And they said I should call the old radio station and ask for the deal that Cumia got, because I guess Cumia is doing 8 to 10 on Sunday on WABC in New York. And they were dead serious, and they were like, you know, if that guy can go back and be on the radio, you certainly can. You haven't said nearly the controversial things that he does on a regular basis. And I was like, well, even if that was true, calling up and asking for 8 to 10, I don't know. I don't know if like that would be too much ego to. It would be different if it was a called and offered like a weekend shift. But I think that's a difficult thing to try to get your ego around. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a difference in amount of time passed between both events. I think he has you by another
decade.
7 to 8 years there, if my timeline's adding up.
Right.
So, yeah, you get time to mull on it. I'm sure everyone gets a lot softer.
Oh, I've mulled on it. I'm not calling anybody. I mean, my phone number has not changed. I ain't calling a fucking soul. I just want to know what you thought about it, because it came out of fucking nowhere.
I saw that news, and I said, wow, okay. Let me start figuring out what the plan is here. What's the blueprint that says I got to get into AM radio? You know what? But I see the correlation, I guess, of AM radio listeners are just radio listeners for life. Like, they are a rare group, and you never really know who's won. But when you find them, you're like, oh, that's what made you a little bit off. That's why I'm like,
sure.
That's why we're not really connecting, because you're not on Twitter. You're listening to AM radio all day.
Tetched. That's what we are. Tetched. Al Sal, thank you for the super chat. $5. Loving Sunday and Monday content. BTOS and the Fortress Hackman Society. We are taping the Fortress Hackman Society on Wednesday evening, Al Sal. Sorry if there was any confusion, but that will be Thursday's episode of the Chad Duke Show. But yes, Both Types of Sports on Monday is fun for me and fun for everyone. So thank you for that. Back to back, $5. We do accept super chat store. We're one of the few shows on YouTube that like super chats. So if you'd like to send them in, we'll put you up on the screen. Can Tor put his 2 cents on Fortress Film Hackman Society? Talk about what was going on in the head with Jack from DC. Oh, because Jack from DC, there was a crossing of the streams. Didn't we talk about that on the last episode? That Jack from DC left a voicemail for your college football show?
We did, Al Sal. Thank you.
Stirring the pot, Al Sal always is.
Stirring the pot. Jack from DC is a jackass, and I think that was reflected. I was hoping that if we were talking the Fortress Film Hackman Society, I could refer to my favorite character in movies of all time, and Harry Zim. And his ability to make me laugh, unlike any other movie character ever has. Every time I rewatch Get Shorty, I laugh harder and harder at Gene Hackman as Harry Zim, whether it's him not understanding that the Shylock is in his house, getting him drunk, whether it's him taking over the Shylock's persona and getting Ray Barboni to Los Angeles for no reason, only to have him, beat the shit out of him and not flinch to having a gun in his face. It's the funny. It's my maybe growing to my favorite movie character of all time.
Get Shorty's fantastic. When when Harry Zim goes from completely smug telling Dennis Franz how much money that he can fucking invest in, it's entirely up to you. How about you take a fucking look at this, and then hits him with a phone. One of my favorite scenes in all the movies. I agree with you.
Harry, just don't say a word about Mr. Lovejoy. If you're gonna, just not a word. Hey, fellas!
I thought I made myself clear.
Oh, it's just this project. You guys wouldn't be interested at all in it. It's just called Mr. Lovejoy.
Delroy Lindo's great in that movie. DeVito's great in that movie. It's just it's the best. Yeah, I voted for Get Shorty, and I got shot down because there are some normies in the Fortress Film Society that haven't seen Crimson Tide. So we're going to watch that. Thank you, Al Sal. I appreciate it. Tor, before we get into the meat of the program, I wanted you to address the allegations that you are now dating Sean Penn. Any truth to these rumors? Because if that doesn't look enough like you, somebody did this.
Well, it's a lot for a Monday shoot.
If you're listening on the podcast, Sean Penn is dating a gargantuan woman from Ukraine that more than one person has pointed out to me bears a striking resemblance to young Gigantor. And she's about 7 feet tall. So
I think the small nose hurts me here. And then because she's got maybe a nose smaller than a thimble. That's great. And then, I mean, the skin tones match just about identically.
Sure. That's
not great for me. Her eyes are a little wider off than mine. She's a little more of a herbivore than I am. But good God.
That's a striking look.
Why would I let Sean Penn walk on the red carpet with that hair done like that? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know why I let him do that.
And his tie stinks.
He's missing Sean Penn before this award show.
He's missing a button. And what sucks is, like, he's old as dirt, but he's still got like that ruggedly handsome Hollywood guy look.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because he fucking put some product in your hair, old man. Like, how about some fucking get some lifts? If you're gonna be dating Gigantor, you're gonna need lifts.
Why does he need them? He just banged my brains out in the limo ride over.
That's a great
He doesn't
point.
need lifts. He doesn't need anything. Sean Penn, I guess.
That.
God.
I mean, for God's sakes, he's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He deserves our respect. You want to read this one?
DC Sports Mark, $2. How many times did Tor call Ted a moron?
It was more than once, from what I remember.
Yeah, personal life, every time he's brought up during the Jack from DC call, I'd say probably 3 to 4 times. Just because I wish I had a different adjective to describe like the severity of Ted and his impact on your life once you get to know him.
Sure.
And then when that impact starts taking place, there are better words, but the word that I stuck with in that moment was moron. So I think I leaned on it a little bit. For 3 to 4 times I called Ted a moron.
Now, can I ask you a question? Do you pull the voicemails for that show as your co-host?
I pulled them, yeah.
So then you subjected yourself to this misery. You pulled the fucking voicemail that you knew, and then you're in the unenviable position of trying to explain the hot man and his works to somebody that has no idea what's going on. I don't even think I could do that. I'm
dying for a voicemail out here. I'm now going to the depths of diving for, explaining a hot man's head. I'm in a desert here.
You crave interaction. It's the off season. Completely understand. Do you want to start with T or do you want to start with D? T Higgins or Deebo Samuel?
I think D is actually a bigger story than T, even though I'm happier for T than D.
Interesting. Well, fair enough. Deebo Samuel, of course, is now a Washington Commander, reuniting with Adam Peters, who was the general manager now of Washington and was previously out of the front office of the 49ers. Deebo was a 36th overall pick, 2019 draft. He will now pair with Terry McLaurin as a B. That is a very talented duo. The trade, of course, cannot be announced official until the league year starts on March 12th. He was a piece that was instrumental to that 49ers offense when it started its run. He now will be paired with the offensive rookie of the year. Jaden Daniels had almost 3,600 yards, 891 rushing yards, and 31 touchdowns without Deebo Samuel. And of course, before he arrived on the scene, Washington had 4 games. Now, last year, Tor, not all that impressive, 670 yards in 2024 receiving, but 806 scrimmage yards and 4 touchdowns. Didn't really find his footing. We know that whole offense was sputtering last year. McCaffrey was hurt. Ayuk gets hurt, so I'm not going to judge him on that. But for a 5th-round pick, and in a year where wide receivers are getting $40 million a year, you're talking about, I think, less than $20 million on the hook they'll be for Deebo Samuel. I love this move for Washington. I think it's the first of many. If I were them, my next call would be out to Los Angeles and say, let's figure out how to get Cooper Kupp out here, because Cooper Kupp, his base salary is $12.5 million. Let's see what he's got left in the tank. We got the cap space. I think this is a full-fledged arms race now between Washington trying to equal what the Eagles are able to put out there on the field. I think this is a no-brainer for Washington.
If they could lock up Kupp and Samuel for under $35 million combined this year, that's a massive win, and that's a massive step for them. They are getting Fat Deebo, and I love Fat Deebo, but he's Fat Deebo. He started podcasting, and it's a bit of a distraction, but it's still Deebo Samuel. It's not 2021 Deebo Samuel. You also wouldn't get 2021 Deebo Samuel for $18 million. So
5th-round pick, yeah.
And so it's fine. You bided your time. You got yourself a weapon. You said that your platform this offseason was we're going to surround Jade Daniels with talent, and you're already starting to do it, living up to the campaign promises early, and that it's a great – it's just a good look to get started for Washington, to be a team that is getting started early. You don't want to be like Dallas last year, who never got started. And the whole time you're a fan, you're sitting like, when are they going to make their move? When will they do anything to improve the team? You're just waiting on the hook. Washington didn't do that, and now, since they have so much cap room, they can continue to play around, instigate, work a deal, try to get a better player, and they're not really in a particularly big rush because they knocked out a pretty big step in getting a 2 to 3 guy on the offense already.
It's not. I'm glad you brought that point of it up, Tor, because it's not just a personnel move, but it's also putting the league on notice. And you're right. The best comparison to make is the one that is 180 degrees away. And that is the Cowboys coming out and saying nothing's going to hold us back. We're on fire. We're going after everybody. And then not only not going after everybody, dragging your feet to re-sign your own superstars, coming up with half-ass excuses why great players that were on the market for affordable prices and positions that you needed were not acquired by your bullshit franchise. Like, this is the opposite of that. And I think Washington only has 3 wide receivers under contract this year. Terry, of course, being one of them. I hope they work to retain De'Ami Brown. Whatever the opposite of what Sam Darnold did, that's what De'Ami Brown did, where he kind of stepped up in the postseason. That means a lot to me, man. Like, if you start to make plays in the most difficult times, and that's in the cold and the pressure of the postseason, that means, hey, man, let's throw an extra couple of million on this. Let's bring you back as a 3rd option, 4th option. I think there's some value there as well. But you are putting your division, you're putting your opponents, you are declaring yourself and what your intentions are by making this move. And I don't care how rumored it was. I don't care how many teams were interested. So what? You're the one that went up at the dance and asked the girl out and risked looking like a buffoon in front of all of your cohorts. So I love the statement that it makes about, if I'm a Washington fan, I'm in love with the statement it makes about we have declared war. These are our intentions. We are going to contend for a Super Bowl next year.
And if it ends up being a big fat failure that lands on its face, you still have the quarterback.
It can't be a failure. It can't be.
I don't think it will be. And these guys, this is what you do now. You take shots. You try to get guys on the team to help the best player and the most important person on the field in Jaden Daniels. Get used to it, because this is going to have to be a cycle. You're going to miss on some. You're going to hit on more, because I think that you have a guy that can elevate players around him on the outside with his demeanor and his play style and all the great things about Jaden Daniels. I'm not trying to make it into a Jaden Daniels, suck fest. I'd love to always do that, but I'm going to refrain. It just feels like entering the actual new age here of how they approach this offseason and getting not overly aggressive like the Patriots did after they had their first losing season in forever and they just spent $120 million on mediocre free agents. No, just get quality guys that Dan Quinn likes and that he can work with, and this team will not be worse than they were entering the offseason.
And what I meant by it can't be a failure, Deebo Samuel cannot work out in Washington. We don't know. I mean, I'm assuming Cliff Kingsbury's going to be able to make him work. I'm assuming he wanted to go there. I mean, he was speaking in the offseason. We know he wanted to be back on the East Coast. I think he's from North Carolina. And it maybe that doesn't work out personnel wise, chemistry wise, whatever. Washington's base level with Jaden and Terry, and if their defense gets better, if they're going to add another hit maker. I mean, how many we talked about this at the end of the season tour. How many of those guys that performed for them were just 1-year contract flyers? I mean, they underspent last year because they didn't know what they were going to be. So that's why I don't think they can not have success as long as key components are healthy, just because their base level is much higher than we initially thought it was. The other thing I like about this trade, and I forgot who said it. Let me see if I have it here. Do you follow Barry on X? He had a funny tweet about Deebo Samuel. He said, Deebo Samuel had a 1,400-yard season at 25 and hasn't reached 900 the past 3 seasons. Kyle Shanahan treated him like a fat Tavon Austin instead. And I think there's some truth to that. Now, whether or not that's because we figured out Deebo can't get that separation, he's a little heavier. I don't know what it is, but the play calling certainly was interesting. But he does create mismatches. And the ability to put him in the backfield, the fact that he can break tackles, that he can get tough yards, and the fact that if he can get the ball in his hands from a receiving standpoint, he can put it in the end zone. I just feel like this league, everybody's so well scouted. There's so much film. There's so much intelligence. Everybody's smart. If you can create mismatches, that's where the game is won and lost. And they have maybe the greatest mismatch creator already in the backfield on every snap. And the more guys like that you could put around him, I think Deebo's one of those guys. That's why I think it makes sense.
I also am not going to be surprised if I'm tracking training camp or mini camps and I see Deebo Samuel hopefully wearing a number in the teens and not single digit. I think he's a great guy to be wearing a teens number. And he's slimmed down and he looks like he's in great playing shape and he just gets completely rejuvenated, refreshed. I mean, that would fire everybody up, is to see him running crispy routes, looking like an athlete, taking some snaps out of the backfield, taking some drag route catches. Whatever he needs to do. I think that Kingsbury is we're not going to need to get as creative as we would be if this was a 2019 Deebo Samuel, but there's still value. There's still value in putting him on the skell linebacker on the other team that just got brought up because the starter was injured. Deebo Samuel's still good enough where he can completely take advantage of that guy and have a massive day. So it's a little more, I'm expecting a little more boom or bust from him throughout the season on what days he pops versus weekends that he doesn't. But I think if he pops, he could win games. He could be an absolute force for them.
I also look at him and he being unhappy. And when you're unhappy, you get fat. I just think that if you're now motivated, we don't know what his preparation was like, Tor, and we don't know what caused him to miss as much time as he did. There's a lot of X factors that I think can get cured up by, this is going to sound blunt and disgusting, and I apologize, new pussy. The motivation to get new pussy can really change a big, fat, drunken wastes mindset and how much time they want to devote to the gym, how many glasses of water they're going to drink a day. Maybe I better go get a haircut. I'll take a shower today instead of putting it off until tomorrow. And I don't know. I feel like there's an X factor there too. Is like, we don't know how much better he can be now that he's someplace he wants to be. Here's a problem that I have, and it's not with Deebo or with the Commanders or with the 49ers. It's with what I always have a problem with. NFL Twitter is so insufferable. I go on there and it's everyone making fun of, I don't know who's saying the Commanders are Super Bowl contenders now on X, but they're well within their rights to say it because they were Super Bowl contenders last fucking year.
Yeah.
And Eagles fans that are spouting off about, oh, now you're only going to lose by 15. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Commanders beat the Eagles last year during the regular season. I don't think anybody thinks this means that they've leapfrog even the Rams or the Eagles, whoever you want to put out there. They're building talent around an MVP caliber quarterback, and by doing that, by process of elimination, they're Super Bowl contenders because they already were that before they added a former All-Pro.
Unless you lose your head coach or your starting quarterback, and the previous year you went to a championship game, then you are a Super Bowl contender. You should be automatically in that group of Super Bowl contender. If it's a fluke, we'll know by week 6. But
Sure.
For the most part, you are in the mix. Washington is certainly in the mix, and it's not unfair to say they're more in the mix now by adding a former All-Pro piece like Deebo Samuel to the roster.
Al Sal, $5. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. What would Washington have to get in free agency to make their defense as good as the Eagles? I think they should fleece some of the Eagles. I think they should guys that might be available on that defense that aren't going to be able to be retained. Everybody's talking about Myles Garrett. I don't know if you watched Rich Eisen did his 5 biggest rumors that he heard at the NFL Combine today, Tor. I listened to that. One of the biggest ones was the Browns aren't moving Myles Garrett. Like, the Browns are not going to blink. They have no interest in moving him. And as dysfunctional, as shitty as the Browns are, I can't, but what are you going to get? Like, what are you going to get that's going to be worth having the best defensive player, arguably, in the league moved off your team? They don't believe that they need a complete teardown right now. And if they don't believe they need a teardown, they're not going to move on. I think they can tweak some guys. Bobby Wagner, I certainly would bring him back. I think there's probably some of the draft is going to be devoted to making sure they can try to get after it. I know John Allen has been given the opportunity to go out and seek a trade, so that's definitely going to hurt them. I don't know they're going to be able to do enough in the offseason to equal what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing to her. I think just cumulatively they can raise their talent level to at least be on equal footing as a whole with, unfortunately, the best team in the conference happens to be in their division.
Right. I think that the immediate fix on defense goes to cornerback, and you have to find a replacement for Benjamin St. Juste, who had to step up because they misdrafted Emmanuel Forbes. So you need an actual lockdown corner or two, because figuring out Marshawn Lattimore's health status, we should assume that he's healthy come the start of next season, but you never really know. And then maybe get a safety if you feel like you can upgrade from Jeremy Chin. But I think their first round draft pick should be the best corner available that fits in their scheme. I know Dan Quinn, get him in the war room, because what he did in Dallas, I think he had his fingers on it. When they were drafting all their best defensive pieces, get him a guy that he likes, and that guy will thrive in the NFL. This is one where you should be considering the head coach and appreciate the track record of him finding guys that work in his defenses, or at least in his defensive mindset, that pan out. They just do. Deron Bland panned out in Dallas. Micah Parsons panned out in Dallas. You have all these guys across the board that helped with Dan Quinn. So getting somebody in the defensive backfield, I think, is massive for Washington to do.
Let's see here. Paul M, $2. Thank you, buddy. Chad's getting me all worked up for next season. Well, I don't think for the division some shit. I don't think Dallas is going to be able to get it right. I think the Giants are lost. The fact that they're now turning to Aaron Rodgers. I want to get to the Giants. Like, I can't believe where they are in their quarterback search and market. Number one. But Tor, this isn't, if you look at the NFC, and you look at where Washington shook out, and you look at where it was a charmed season. Like, nobody is going to be taken aback by Jaden Daniels. And I think, I know this is an annoying thing to hear for anybody that's a Commanders fan, but I do think at times they were lucky with some of the hits that he took, crushing, bone-jarring hits that he would get up from. To his credit, he's tough as nails, especially with the body type that he has. He does not have a body type that you would think. I look at Lamar Jackson, I'm like, yeah, that motherfucker, he can take a hit. There's muscles on top of muscles. I don't look at Jaden and say that he looks like Durant. So I think he got lucky there in a couple of different places, but I don't. There's no reason to believe that if he's healthy and out there on the field, it's his mindset. It's the fact that year 2 is the year that these quarterbacks become more comfortable, and we're just, they're just blessed by the fact that this kid seemed to already be there by the time he was drafted as a rookie. And it also tore general manager, coach, quarterback. That's what you got to have in this league. And as of right now, it seems like they've got that locked up, including ownership group as well. They are locked up in single file on down the line. That's the most valuable component of this whole thing.
I think Paul should be fired up. Washington is better than any team in the NFC South. They're as good, if not better, than the Rams, who's the best team in the NFC West. And then they're behind
Packers, Vikings.
They're behind Detroit. They're behind Philly. I think they're on par with Green Bay, and I think they're just about on par with Minnesota as well. So you're a top 5 NFC team this year, or expectedly. That's going to come. That's going to get people. You should be fired up.
I'd rather have Jaden than Jordan Love right now.
I would too. Certainly.
Right?
Jaden's also still cheaper than Jordan Love. They just dumped a bunch of money into him.
They're talking about today the Vikings trying to bring Sam Darnold back for multiple years. Like, we have no idea what's going to shake out up there. And Detroit, I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt, Tor. I mean, they lost every coordinator that they had, including the architect of the offense. It seems solely responsible for Jared Goff's, reinvigoration in this league. And they went outside. I don't know if you saw that, but if people understand, they went outside the family. They didn't promote from within,
right,
to run this offensive scheme. So you're going to have a new one. So they're talented, but I'm going to need to take a wait and see approach with the Lions, especially with Ben Johnson going in division to an incredibly talented Chicago Bears team. I mean, there's going to be incredible infighting now in the North.
I'm hoping that the North is going to be back-to-back years as the division to watch in football. It's going to be great theater. I think Chicago will be better. They need to be better, or else what are you doing to that young quarterback? Like we at some point the NFL should step in and say, send them somewhere else. Come on, get up off of it. We'll give you another pick in the first round if you want. We'll have 33 first round picks, but just let him go, because you're just going to keep on crushing him.
I think everybody should be very nervous about the Rams now that they have retained Matt Stafford. I think that's a team you look at and say, let's hope somebody else knocks that. They can win on the road. They play hard, and they're different. And this is now, by my count, Tori, this is about the third time they've reloaded since McVay has been there. And like the most they dip is 7 or 8 losses. I mean, you want to talk about a healthy infrastructure. Jesus Christ.
No, they're going to draft a couple. They're going to draft a bunch of guys you never heard of this year, and they're all going to be. 5 out of 7 of them are going to be like impact starters immediately. I think that he makes that learning curve super easy for all the guys coming in, and doesn't tolerate guys that don't know what they're doing. I don't see Los Angeles having a bunch of mental errors on the field and costly mistakes that a bunch of other slapdick organizations would have. If anything, if they're losing, it's strictly talent base. They're not often getting out coached, if they're getting outplayed, it's because there's someone just a little bit better than Stafford, or someone with a defense that's just a little bit better than the Rams defense that can hang on. But I am done counting them out after that overreaction when they still had Goff, and they had gone to the Super Bowl the next year. They had like 9 wins. They either made the playoffs in the wild card or barely made it. I think they made it and lost to Atlanta in the wild card or something, and people were trying to write him off. They thought McVay was arrogant, and he just stuck to it and keeps on producing playoff team after playoff team, going to battle with the Niners, never flinching against the Seahawks or the Cardinals. It's super impressive the consistency, the silent consistency that Los Angeles has been able to pull off.
Where is Dante Thornton going to go in the draft? He is. I don't watch a lot of the combine, but I have it on the background. I happen to see him run.
Oh, yes.
He's the tallest dude I've ever seen. And he ran like a 4.40. I mean, he was flying up the fucking field. And then I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't watch a lot of Tennessee football. Then I went, even though they're my team, and I went over and I checked out the fucking online highlights. And I'm like, this guy is a monster. Like, is he projected to go in the second or third round? I don't see a lot of wide receivers at all being represented in the first round.
He's probably going to go to Pittsburgh and be a freak athlete,
Steelers type
receiver, and it's just going to be Martavis Bryant type. How do we let Pittsburgh get another wide receiver? Because they fall to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's in the late second and third rounds all the time, and that's where you find these athletic gems that may not be perfectly polished wideouts. They always end up pulling some wide receiver out of a hat, and they become a 1,000-yard guy and make the quarterback look real good. So, Thornton is one of these guys that if you have a gap, if you got 2 out of 3 receivers locked in, you should be ready to go with him, saying, how could he detract from us?
He's impressive in shorts and a tank top, that's for sure. Your boy Trevor Sikkema said he only had 26 interceptions for the Volunteers, but those receptions went for 661 yards. That's an average of 25.4 yards per reception average. That is ridiculous output.
That'd be like a Jameson Williams usage in the NFL. It's not going to be a ton of catches, but when he catches them, you expect it to go for 40s in some way.
Yeah, I had a big old fucking hard on watching him run. And I probably shouldn't say. Is there any way Luke McCaffrey is going to live up? I feel like Commanders fans have been jizzing about Luke McCaffrey. He's Shea Whitey. He's got the last name. They're excited for him. He had moments. I just don't see him living up to whatever they think. I think they all think he's going to be Wes Welker, and I just don't know that that's going to be his game or what his role is going to ultimately be for that team.
No, if he was gonna be Wes Welker, he would be doing what the kid with the Chargers did this past season with Ladd McConkey, who I think is bigger and stronger than Wes Welker.
Where's he going in the fantasy draft, by the way? Ladd McConkey.
He's going high.
Yeah, no shit. If I'm drafting it and he's going high,
I'll be shocked if I see him in a PPR go out of round 2, because he was commanding touches and never dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I didn't see Ladd McConkey dropping the ball. Luke McCaffrey, maybe they use him. I think he's going to be like a special teams guy, utility guy.
That's not what they're saying on X. That's not what they're expecting.
Well, they should lower their expectations. They should lower them drastically, because he's not the truth, but he could be a really good piece.
He's under contract. Kevin Parker, $10. Fat, drunk, and stupid, not trolling, just dumb. Oh, thank you, Kevin. That's fine. There's no penalties for being fat, drunk, and stupid on this show. All right, I wanted to get to how the Rams sunned the Raiders and New Jersey, but yeah, there's a great question, Tor. Which Falcons player do you think it was shitting up the locker room? And for those of you that haven't followed this story, the Atlanta Falcons, I think, got voted the second best facilities of any team organization in the NFL. I think the Cardinals were the worst. But there was multiple players that felt compelled to take note and leave a comment on the odor of the bathroom, prompting people to speculate that somebody was blowing the toilet up so consistently that it was causing an issue amongst team chemistry. I'm just curious, is there anyone on the roster, as someone that follows the team on a day-to-day basis, that jumps out at you? Do you think that it could be capable of pulling a phantom shitter, just destroying a toilet and then leaving without a trace?
There certainly is. I'm shooting you over my first guess right now.
Oh, shit. It's got to stay private?
Well, look, I've walked into the stables, which I consider them in the mornings before practice, where all you see is ankles and flip-flops, and it's just a chorus of everyone taking their, obviously, morning goes. I would fly up to the second floor, private bathroom, basketball arena.
You should be a detective. I think you've got this nailed.
As soon as you said that, I'm saying, oh, here's my guy. This is at least the first guy I'm asking. I'm not saying you did it. I'm saying this is who I'm asking.
Hold on, you sent it over as an HEIC. I've got to fucking switch it to a JPG before I can put it up on the fucking. Give me a second. Yeah, you've been in the trenches though. Like I never played high school or college ball, so I never got to experience, those levels.
It's right. Inhuman level, because everyone's on protein, and everyone's you either got a really great diet, which makes it awful, or you got a really bad diet that makes it awful. It's just a whole different world. With
the people are drinking
players.
Too, and like you're still figuring out your body.
It's just it's terrible. I got out of here. Okay, this is prime suspect number 1. This is right tackle Caleb McGarry. Former first-round pick out of Washington. He's had some injuries, but he's a mammoth of a man. I think
he might be doing it in this picture for all we know, right in his football pants.
Yeah, he's just a behemoth from the mountains. So I'm thinking, like when they do all the social media stuff, it's like, who would you want to protect you on a desert island or take you camping? It's always McGarry, because he's just an outdoorsman. I think it's definitely him. To keep the amount of food that he would have to intake to maintain this stature is enough to cause concern in a general facility.
And he's not going to care about letting the lead fly. I mean, he's not going to have any compunctions.
There's no shame there.
Everyone, of course, wants to say it can't be Kirk, but I think Kirk is low-key one of the most nervous dudes in the league. Like, it's got to be somebody that's under an enormous amount of stress. Like, I bet it looks like a handful of rabbit food whenever Kirk lets it fly. Now, I don't know if that's going to stink up the whole. You have to go with someone that can produce some volume like this young man.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Kirk is ever leaving the bathroom like, God, I feel 1,000 times better. I think it's always just kind of very stressed, very coal into diamond type movements. Diamond. Yeah, with all the pressure. He's not going out there and he's not laying on the field what we lay on the field, day to day.
Oh no, you know what I'm capable of.
I don't think Kirk has ever had a day in his life that is cracked my top 100 worst all the time.
What was your claim that you think at any given moment you are taking the biggest shit as 1,000 people on the planet? Like I always forget what that claim is of yours.
It was out of everybody on the planet that day. There is technically a ranking of
somewhere
biggest to smallest and worst to best. And I think that, on my worst days, I've cracked top 10,000 in the world, top 50,000. Maybe even I've had a top 1,000 day of there's nobody experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. I am worse off. I'm butt naked. I haven't been able to, I just have nothing going for me. I already started the shower because there's no way I'm walking out of this door without walking into there after the savagery. So really, like, if your worst day that you've ever had is probably still in that 10,000s range.
I wish there was a way. I got to figure out how we can. I mean, the net we would have to cast to acquire those statistics would be very difficult. But I wish we could invest.
And you'd think, man, how are there? You still think on your worst day there could be 10,000 that had Well, there's a bunch of 500 pounders. There's a bunch of 600 pounders. There's a bunch of people with somehow worse diets. It's a big planet. I think there's people that, I'm including maybe a food poisoning day that people are getting through.
Okay.
There's a lot of variables into someone having a worse day in the bathroom than me.
I think that somebody on their worst day, that's the way to characterize it, that maybe they can step up. It's, it's like Matt Serra knocking out GSP, one of those type of scenarios. Okay. So Stafford played everybody. The Rams played everybody, I guess, technically. I mean, who knows if Matt Stafford even was aware that he was being played, but they allow him to go out and basically set a market. He wanted $50 million a year. I don't think the Rams, we had a lot of reports, Tor, that the Rams were looking for a way to move on, like that they were ready and they wanted to do something where they could do it, without causing a kerfuffle because they had such a strong appearance last year. And I don't know why the fuck you'd want that. Again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Now, Stafford's wife is a giant pain in the ass. We all know that. But moving on from Cooper Kupp would suggest that there's some validity to that because we know Stafford has the relationship with Kupp. But here's the question that I would like for you to answer, because I haven't been able to come up with an answer. Other than pure stinking, again, desperation, why, if you're the Giants or the Steelers or the Raiders, especially Tom Brady, are you playing ball with this shit? What they're doing. They're looking for you to make an offer so that he can come back and say, give me this and we'll be okay. They've got the better team. They're closer to the Super Bowl. He doesn't have to move. He can look at the Pacific Ocean. Why, if you're the Giants and the Raiders, do you do the dirty work of giving the Los Angeles Rams a market for their quarterback that they already know that they're drastically underpaying?
I can't solve that. It seems very, very. It is very manipulative, and a lot of people like going back to that Lamar Jackson when he was before he got his deal. A lot of Falcons fans still on it. We could have had Lamar. We could have had Lamar when he came available. We said no. Because the Ravens were better, and they were going to keep Lamar, and we were just being used. We were the lure. We weren't even the fishing rod. We were just the worm hanging on the hook, trying to get a bite. And then the Ravens would end up catching the fish. We would just still be the hook. So I'm glad he's staying in LA. I think that if the Giants were serious or the Raiders are serious or any of these teams were that serious.
They sounded serious, brother. The packages that are being reported they put together.
Well, I think for Stafford, a realistic package for me would have been obviously take on the contract and then a first, a second, and maybe another second. You would have had to be 3 big-time picks going down the barrel. And then if the Rams didn't budge off that, then at least they know the price. So I get what the Rams did.
So the report today was that the Giants not only hit the trade compensation for Matt Stafford, so they were going to satisfy what the Rams wanted, but they hit the number that Stafford was looking for. So I can only assume if $50 million is what the report is publicly, who knows? Maybe it's $110 million for 2 years. I'm going to speculate that is what it is. And the other report that I saw today, who said this? On Ari Mirov, my sports update. The Giants and Raiders offered Matt Stafford way more money, but he returned to the Rams. His deal is mostly a big 2025 raise with a few guarantees in 2026. So this could all happen again next year. I at this stage in my career, Tor, I don't know that I would want a year to year. Okay, the season's over. I got to do my taxes again. Like, I don't know if that's where I want to be, but also I don't know what his motivation is as far as another championship. Once you have a championship, I hate to say this because it sounds selfish and fucking myopic, but I want the biggest bag I can possibly get. My time's almost done. I've been there, done that. I'll go to Las Vegas over New Jersey, of course. And fucking live in a casino on the top floor in the fucking penthouse. My wife can stay in LA if she wants, make $110 million and then retire la-di-da at the end of that. There's something about the whole thing I thought seemed very weak sauce, as the kids said 15 years ago.
I think he could have been waiting for the right destination to open up if a domino started falling, and I don't think he wanted to play for the Giants. That they were they were a disaster. I don't think he wanted to play for the Raiders. They're a disaster. Pittsburgh was probably the most lucrative landing spots possible. They still haven't figured out what the hell they're doing.
No.
First, it was initially we're getting rid of both quarterbacks. Now we want to keep either Fields or Wilson. That's even more aimless than getting rid of both quarterbacks at this point. So there wasn't a mature enough and good enough suitor, in my opinion, where Matt Stafford would actually take it. He said, well, let me look around here. I'm already set up. Do I really want to uproot this to have 5 or 6 wins in the NFC East and get my head smashed in by that Philly defensive line twice a year? Probably. I'm okay. I'll keep on victimizing the Cardinals. I'll keep on victimizing the Seahawks and move on. I think this was a big time team thing with Stafford as well. Like, I don't think he wanted to go to a loser. See what Rodgers did. He might have tainted that pool a little bit for the next couple of years.
Giants are market one, man. I mean, how many more years are we going to go through with both teams in market one being complete laughing stocks? And what do you do now? So you go all in with Stafford. Okay, you show everyone knows that you now have realized the sense of urgency around the quarterback position. You've acknowledged it, and you had the sand to go out there and go after it. I'll give him credit for it. I wouldn't have done it, but they went all in. They showed their cards, and they got rebuffed by the hot chick. Well, I just don't see a path toward where it's possible Cam Ward doesn't get drafted 1 overall. Dan Orlovsky today was on TV after. What happened to that guy? I thought he was taking a break. I thought he was walking away, and he was on TV today talking about football.
Yeah, I guess he just went to Hawaii with his family and then came back feeling a little bit better.
He's a weird fucking cat. He was talking about how Cam Ward is only going to get more and more intriguing and more sought after as we get closer to the draft. It certainly seems like that. I could see a path where either the Titans or the Browns pass on Cam Ward, not both of them. So then what's the fucking plan? You're going to draft Shador at 3? That seems like it's a huge overdraft. Are you looking at Kirk Cousins? Are we going to get into the Sam Darnold sweepstakes and we're going to give that guy $45 million a year? Like, I don't know. Like, the Giants need to have a plan and they need to be executing it as soon as possible in the wake of Matt Stafford saying thank you, but no thank you.
The Giants might be giving you a king's ransom for that number 1 overall pick. You as in Tennessee.
Right.
And just for a swap, just because that desperation, you're in the desert. Even if it's a mirage, you kind of got to walk up to it and test. If you are that thirsty for a quarterback, you got to go and at least make sure that it's not water or that it might possibly be. I'm starting to really that thought is starting to grow on me a little bit. Of Giants are sick of it. They're at least taking a swing on a quarterback at number 1 overall.
Right.
They're taking a swing in a not fully loaded quarterback class. 1 or 2 guys. They like one guy more. How could it possibly be worse? And that's where I'm thinking that their mentality is, and they could be trying to do the 49ers bit. Buy myself 3 years with a young quarterback taken in the top 3 like they did with Trey Lance. I don't think they're going to get bailed out with a Brock Purdy at the Mr. Irrelevant pick, but they might be after all that bad PR this year with Saquon and having to get rid of Daniel Jones and having Hacks do stand-up bits on SportsCenter, trashing Daniel Jones. Like, you've been the butt of the joke too long. It's time to take a swing and try to save your career for Joe Shane.
maybe this sounds just as nutty as anything else, but there are top 10 worthy offensive linemen in this draft. Aaron Rodgers has already been linked. Who's the kid from Louisville, quarterback, 6'5", fucking
Tyler Shuck.
I don't know, Kyle McCord, Jackson Dart, like whatever your next level of quarterbacks is. If it's Rodgers with Malik Neighbors, Devontae Adams is available. Like
Right.
you draft the best lineman, you come back, you have your developmental quarterback. We can argue whether or not Aaron Rodgers is the guy you want developing your quarterback, but there is a path here where I think you can sell your team on the here and now. I just think, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, the last thing in the fucking world I want to do is play another season in New Jersey. Like, I'll go somewhere and be a backup, swallow my pride, get in, throw my 6 touchdowns or whatever he needs to get above Favre. I mean, I might even think about just hanging it up. Like, who gives a shit ultimately? But I just can't see him doing it. But if he's game, I think you can sell your fan base on that rather than we got Tommy Cutlets here again. Get your season ticket plans. We're going to have another empty stadium. It gets invaded by everybody else's fans, just like, Washington used to. I think that's to me, that would be preferable than to trading everything it would take to go up to 1. Because quite frankly, I don't think the Titans are going to pick up the phone. I think they're going to take a player there.
The Rodgers to Nashville buzz started grabbing me more and more. I think that he just doesn't want to move. I think he's settled down. He likes this spot in New Jersey.
Really?
He likes golfing around. Yeah, I don't think he wants to move. I think he's being a dickhead.
Don't you live in New Jersey? Don't you want to move?
God.
I mean, come on.
I think that I'm sitting here. He's trying to save himself a big moving bill. He's this cheapskate where he doesn't want to ship it all off and do the uprooting bit again. He'd be fine. He'd do way better in Tennessee than he's fared in New York, New Jersey area. They crushed him, and they should have crushed him. Go where it's a little bit calmer, just a little bit slower paced.
Yeah.
It's nicer. It's good to be down there, Aaron. Go there. Just sack up and do it.
If I'm the Giants, if he's there, I take Travis Hunter. If he's not there, I take Will Campbell to be my tackle, to be my bedrock. I bring Rodgers in. I go back and I have a quarterback that people are high on right now to develop behind him for a year. I like that formula. I think that's the way to go. Of course, it looks good on paper. I also said that the Redskins should draft Justin Blackmon and sign Matt Flynn, and they would go to the Super Bowl the very next season. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I saw this clip. I wanted to ask you about it because this would kill, if I was back on the radio, this would kill 3 call-in segments, and I always look for those. This is a gem. Travis Hunter at the Combine. He could be the first overall pick. Travis Hunter. There's 4 players that are visiting with the Tennessee Titans. I think it is this week. It's all the guys you hear going in the top 4, both of the quarterbacks, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. He said at the Combine that what he does on the football field is harder than what Shohei Ohtani does in baseball. Playing both. I don't. Is it playing both ways in baseball? I don't know how you pitching in. Okay. Ohtani is a 1 of 1, and the cultural aspect of it is difficult for me to get past too, where you bring millions and millions and millions of paying customers to the field. And I do believe that hitting a baseball still is the hardest thing to do in sport, as much as we beat that cliche to death. But Tor, he is not just playing corner and wide receiver. He's the best corner and the best wide receiver, arguably. I mean, I think there's more validity. Everyone's immediately scoffing at this and shooting it down, but I think it's probably pretty closer. And it gets back to what you and I always talk about. Shohei Ohtani is not getting the shit beaten out of him every time he's out on the field, and Travis Hunter is. And I have an enormous amount of respect for that.
Yeah, I've been tracking this one. A lot of shows have been having this as a call-in segment and doing very well with it because baseball players like to pretend that they're the only sport that's ever played, pitcher in the field and batted in youth league baseball. You know what? In football, you play both sides as a kid. Also, you play. For me, I played center and defensive tackle my entire life up until college. And then they said, all right, fatty, one or the other. And I said, all right, I'll do the offensive one. That's where I'm a little better at. So it just is where the rubber meets the road for me. And the rubber has not met the road for Travis Hunter yet in his pursuit. I would want him playing both sides of the field. He is just one of these Florida dudes that can run forever. Everyone's worried about his stamina. I was thinking about it today. Oh, he's a Florida guy, it's a little different down there. It's lower. And I'm like, well, what happens if he hits altitude? He played in Colorado for 2 years and barely missed snaps. He's good. He's just one of these freaks that can go out and do it. So the natural giftedness of it, I think, leans in favor of Travis Hunter, because if you are just one of those natural, one of those phenomenal athletes that can go on forever, I think it is easier than what Shohei Ohtani does. But the physical toll is much heavier than Shohei Ohtani's toll.
Is that not a part of it, though? I mean,
it should be a part of it. I'm trying to think of the how much it weighs day to day. They're so different because it's 162 games weighted versus maxed 19 games in a season of that. But you could say you're playing 38 with the amount of snaps that you're playing. I think that just the nature of the sport, it favors Travis Hunter having it a little bit easier than Ohtani, because becoming a all-star pitcher and one of the best hitters that the sport has seen in the last decade, that's really freaky. I saw teammates transition positions all the time, switch defensive end to wide receiver, linebacker to running back.
But not play at an elite level at both
true.
at the same time. Come on.
That's true, but I just still think it leans Shohei. It's just such freaky. It's a little bit freakier than what Travis Hunter has done.
Fuck baseball. You're sitting in the dugout eating sunflower seeds for 90% of the game. There's nothing happening. I like that Travis Hunter came out and said and acknowledged to her, I want to go number 1 overall. It means a lot to me. And because of that, I'm going to play offense. I'm not going to come into your situation and say I'm a defensive back or I'm a wide receiver or do what Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to run these plays. Robert Griffin III. I'm not going to run these plays. I like it. I want this. And if you draft me, I'm going to play both for you. Good. Go after there and hump it in to submission, young man. I don't think he's going to get the first overall pick, though, unfortunately.
He's a stud at the podium. He's a stud answering questions, press conferences. The only issue is that girl that he's got.
She is about a pain in the ass, isn't she? I mean, when he's sitting there taking pictures with people, and she's like, I'm just supposed to sit here. How about you go the fuck home? This is the most important day of my life. Get bent, lady.
What'd you think this was? Do you think we were going to have a picnic and everyone was going to sit and applaud us? No, I'm Travis Hunter. I'm the biggest deal in college football that there's been since Tim Tebow. All right? You calm down a little bit. God.
Does she have that tattoo, or is that a Photoshop? That money grabbing cash. Are you all right, by the way?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying to plug in a cord secretively. It's going poorly.
It's not. Your head went underneath the console. I don't know how secretively he is.
Yeah, I think the tattoos are real with her. I didn't go into a deep dive, but yeah, that on paper, that's a bad omen going into the NFL before you get even more famous.
It's weird to me how guys with options like that get locked into situations such as that. But we know a guy in our life that's ruining his life. Well, I won't. You know what? I'm just going to walk back down that hall, turn around, and we're not going to even pretend like it never happened. All right, last one. And remember, we're on Spotify and iTunes. Please go subscribe. You can leave a 5-star review. Bengals tag T. Higgins again, second straight season. Don't cry for me, Argentina. $26.16 million. He gets a 20% raise because he's been tagged twice. The only other player to be tagged, I guess, is Trey Smith thus far. The Bengals have claimed they're working on a longer deal, but we have heard that song and dance before. They also have Jamar Chase they need to get a deal with. Trey Hendrickson, Joey Ice, Joe Burrow. So thorough Joe Burrow came out and said he wants all this shit to get done. Other teams are doing it. We need to do it. So there's pressure. It's tough to put this in context, Tor, because it's an amazing living and everyone's lucky to earn it. But it's just more that the Bengals have no credibility. I know this gives them till July to work out a deal with Higgins, but we all know that Jamar Chase is the one that they're most focused on, and they just don't pay everyone. And your quarterback knows it. Everyone knows it. I hate the franchise tag. I hate that they could use it twice in a row. Once, maybe. It just seems completely shitty and against like the open market. And as bad as you can feel for someone that's going to make $27 million for maybe catching 900 yards worth of balls, I feel bad for T. Higgins because of it.
We're getting ready to see a Cincinnati implosion. I'm fully bracing for it.
You think we're on the event horizon?
It's really not great. And I actually am starting to lean into. I really like the report cards that the NFLPA is putting out and doing that. This Cincinnati franchise, we give them too much credit because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins rock. They are really close to being a poverty franchise.
They're a shit show.
Like their cafeteria is awful. Their nutrition is awful. Their locker rooms are awful. I think their cheap ownership. Their coach is starting to lose my faith in him.
But sure, the Chiefs get all those bad reviews, and they win the Super Bowl every year.
They are, but they got it together more somehow. It works better. Their head coach is better. The quarterback's a little bit better. Their weapons are worse, but they got three pieces that I think the GM's a little bit better also. This is a Cincinnati team where it's all coming down to Jamar Chase, what he does. He's going to determine if he stays in Cincinnati, maybe that forces their hand to actually getting better. If he leaves, that forces their hand for sure into getting better, because then they will truly be a poverty franchise in the NFL. They stay alive because they have the best wide receiver in the game, a top 5 quarterback in the game. And they didn't make the playoffs last year. You know, how long can you keep that bit up without actually going in and investing, opening up the pocketbooks, keeping this group together? Anybody in the league would die for this core. For this triplets package, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, anybody, I'm trying to think. Maybe the Eagles hold off on it, but I wouldn't be hard-pressed into them taking that deal.
I wouldn't.
I think that they would definitely consider that deal also. So if you're sitting here with that premier, you have to do something better.
This is all you need to know about why Joe Burrow wants T. Higgins to be a part of this team. On the tag last year, T. Higgins caught 73 passes for 911 yards. He had a career-high 10 touchdowns, by the way, only played 12 games, so do that math. The impact on the offense, though, was more than that. In the 5 games he missed the past season, Bengals went 1-4 tour, and Joe Burrow averaged 6.8 yards per attempt less, down from 7.9 yards per attempt that he averaged with Higgins on the field. It's easy to just look at Jamar Chase. It's easy to just look at who's in the backfield. It's easy to look at Joe Burrow, but Higgins is more than that. He's got size. He can create mismatches. He can get jump balls, and then he is dynamic in the red zone. They have 2 dynamic wide receivers that are big and physical in the red zone, and that's why I would say, I know this is going to sound disrespectful to the champions, it ain't even a question how your dough flows. I'd rather have those 3 guys in Cincinnati than those 3 guys in Philadelphia, because you got to put the push into it, the defense, the mobility of the quarterback. It's I don't want to say bells and whistles because that's disrespectful, but lining up and playing quarterback and gunslinging and throwing it to fucking studs, like that's how Cincinnati win games, in spite of the fact they're giving up 45 points in some of these games and figuring out a way to win. So I would still, I'm calling. If I'm the Commanders or I'm whoever the fuck, the Raiders, I don't know who is in the market for T. Higgins, but I'm going to call at least see if we can put something together. He asked for a trade 2 years ago, and they still haven't even – we still don't know why they come out unwilling and unprepared to play football at the beginning of every year and dig themselves a giant hole.
It's shocking. It's such a shocking, weird franchise. I think they tried to get a T. Higgins replacement with Jermaine Burton. He's been a bust of a pick, and they're going to try to get another T. Higgins replacement, see if he can do the job T can do. He probably won't be able to. Maybe they go around the ringer this time of year again next year, and see, hey, is there a T. Higgins replacement out there? We're kind of facing the exact same situation we've been facing for the last 3 years. No, there's no one better than T. Higgins. How could we have planned for this? How could we have foreseen this? Well, 3 years ago, if you notice that he's kind of one of the premier outside guys and you paid him, you wouldn't be dealing with it. You would have
the money only goes one way. The cap keeps going up. If you would have paid this, I mean, look what the Eagles did. Give them their credit. They immediately paid their guys, and they went out and won a Super Bowl. And if you're looking to replace a guy, you have a former employee that's coaching in Nashville right now. Take a look at that team when they drafted Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. We all know who that went. Oh, you got a question here, Tor, if you want to read that one.
Not to dox Tor, what's the best place where he is at for an Italian sandwich? Also, what's your draft day meal?
Oh, 2 culinary questions. Thank you, Al-Sal.
The sandwich that's going to kill me is from a place called Venti Italian Specialties. I've sent that to Shoot. Fiore's House of Quality is probably like the overall best Italian deli spot around. That has rave reviews. It is delicious. Draft day meal. That's a great question. I think I did a big Pizza Hut pizza last year. Maybe I did wings.
You weren't up. Were you up there?
No.
If you order Pizza Hut pizza once while you're up there, I'm gonna SWAT you. I'm gonna SWAT your apartment. I'll be fucking livid, Tor.
No, I have not. I walk past a Domino's pizza every day. It's got like cobwebs in it because I actually in the mornings I see a gentleman sleeping on a little bench in there. I think he's on the opening shift and he's getting a little bit. He's about Ted sized. It's
Hey, look, Domino's is fine if you're in the if you're
right
out in the sticks. It's it'll pass. But if you live in New Jersey or Long Island or Manhattan or Chicago, go fuck yourself if you mess with that. All right, I showed you my sandwich last week. I'm going to show you the one that I had this week and get your thoughts. Little different this time. I actually made the turkey breast myself, brined it, roasted it, and I switched up the mustard. That is a beer and brat mustard to go along with the Grillo's blazing hot pickles, about as good as you can get from a gas station, and the Martin's potato roll. But you see, Tor, I like it thick cut turkeys are what I go for.
I like that because then you are unlimited with how much mustard you want to put on it.
Yes.
And if you want to have a light mustard day, okay, that's fine.
I've never had that happen to me.
I couldn't imagine meeting a person that has had a day like that. But this is great because you're going to get enough mustard on it, enough coverage. The cheese and turkey combo, I like it. I'm always a cheese on top of the sandwich guy. I've noticed you're a cheese under the sandwich guy.
Touch it. You like the cheese touching the mustard?
Get the cheese as top to the roof of my mouth as possible.
Hold on. But where does the mustard go? The only reason I have it that way, I would be fine putting the cheese on top. I don't want the mustard touching the cheese. I want it touching the meat. It gives me the skeeves. It skeeves me out.
I would go mustard right on the meat then and have cheese directly to bread. So the mustard and cheese would still technically be touching, but I would consider it more of a mustard on meat before mustard on cheese.
We're going to part company there. I don't know why. I love all three of those ingredients so much, and that freaks me the fuck out. I got pickles underneath the turkey in that photo. I have a sexy photo I want to show you, too. I don't know if you're ready for it. Are you still single?
Yeah. Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, that guy can cook dinner for you. Look at that guy. I call him the sexy turkey man, is what I call that guy. You'd like to wake up to that, right? He's just downstairs at his nightgown cutting you up a nice slice.
Am I still single? Shoot, I held, for my 27th birthday, I held an adult sleepover at my parents' house while they were away for the weekend.
You were fucking home and you didn't even text? That is so fucking hurtful.
I think I'm coming back in March for a full sweep, but this one, it was in and out. I had to do it.
Fuck me. I wish you hadn't have told me.
We were just playing Monopoly and drinking beer and just playing video games, completely 12-year-old stuff.
Sounds pretty good, though.
But it's what I'm going to do for every one of my birthdays here on out.
Yeah, why not?
We can always go to a club. We can always go out and spend a bunch of money. I want to rot for Saturday. I want to drink a little on Friday, play some video games, and just chill.
I like it.
I think that's going to be my new protocol.
Damn, you being 27 makes me feel older than me being 46. I don't know how that's the case, but it's freaking me out.
It's coming to a close.
What do you mean?
We got to figure it out quick. This is what he's.
Do you mean life? Life's coming to a close. Yeah, 27 doesn't feel like young, dumb, and full of cum. That feels like maybe we should be popping out a kid.
It feels like a little bit like, your dad owns this house.
Yeah.
What do you own? What do you have? I know he's got a gun safe. I know he's got this and that. I'm just, I got a hat collection.
You do. It's the nice stuff you stole from XM. I mean, it's not all bad, right?
I got a 22-year-old car. That's awesome. Let's do it well.
Hey, look, man, if you want to come back and produce a couple times a week, we can re-up on that business arrangement that we had. That's all I need from you. I had some fucking subscriber said that my show has never recovered from you not producing the Monday and Tuesday episode. I was like, God damn.
They just Making Toilet 2 just came out, or is coming out?
It's coming out on March 20th. We just recorded Making Toilet 2. I'll send you a copy. I know that's your favorite. Al Sal, $2. Best choice, extra sandwich and Lewis side. That's my thought, man. Everybody's like, why no chips? Same reason, no dessert. Like, I'd rather just have another cheeseburger, another slice of pizza, another sandwich. That's always been the way I'm wired.
If there's a potato salad that's looking me in the eye, I could substitute that for the extra sandwich. But like 9 times out of 10, the extra sandwich is the smarter move. You could even get like a smaller sandwich. It's find something that's in a different ballpark.
I've never gotten a smaller sandwich. I've never done that. Also, Tor, we fat people have to stop calling things that are just purely based in mayo salads. We've really gotten away with that for so many years. Yeah. Macaroni salad, potato salad, chicken salad. Those
potato slop. That's what it should be.
Any more slops, by the way?
No more slops as of late. I'm sure now that I'm back to my own, there will be slops this week for sure.
All right, please show prep for next week or sometime during the week. One slop photograph and then produce the photos if you don't mind. All right.
Will do.
Oh boy. All right. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Thank you to all of our super chatters, Al Sal, DC Sports Mark, Paul M, and Kevin Parker. Miss Parker, appreciate you. And until next time, friendos, go long. Real long.
Both types of sports.
Hey, what do you got?
Both types of sports.
Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long.